The subcompact crossover segment is one of the lucrative markets right now in the Philippines. You have entries from almost every automaker trying to get a piece of that gorgeous pie. But the compact crossover segment still exists, and it houses the likes of, well, the Ford Territory and the Honda CRV in the back. And of course, well, this new player, the 2023 GAC EMKOO GE. So aside from the wheels, the EMKOO does have futuristic styling. You get these LED headlights. Of course, this is unfortunately not your DRL. This is your park light and signal light combined. These is, well, your headlights, because there's a lot of them. And you have this nice integrated grille. By integrated, I mean that this is technically part of the bumper. The design itself opens up further in the middle and sort of scrunches down a little bit here towards the side. So moving on to the side of the EMKOO, you really don't have much to talk about aside from the repeaters on the side mirror and these fancy door handles that open and close when you, well, there, open and close. You also get this nice chrome accent here that terminates towards the back of the car, and of course, roof rails are functional, by the way, and a nice spoiler back here. At the back, you get this weird amalgamation of like Lexus/Volvo styling with this gorgeous LED tail light here that also extends back here. And of course, this is where you can find your brake light and, well, your reverse light and signal light also. You also get this nice sporty bumper, which unfortunately has faux exhaust. You do get real ones underneath, but really, that's about it. So if you open up the back of the EMKOO, you are looking at around 600 liters worth of space with the second row completely up. Now, if you fold that down, you're looking at around 1,600 liters. And of course, you do get a space saver spare tire. So if you enter the EMKOO, one of the first things you'll notice is nice subtle leather here with a, well, cloth combination. Of course, there's also red accent stitching. There's not much in the way of toys except for air vents here and a USB charging port here. But one of the highlights of the EMKOO is that its door handles are unique. You also, aside from its design, you also get this like switch type thing instead of the pull type you'd normally find in other cars. Overall, it's pretty good. I just wish there was more to do back here. Entering the EMKOO, you are greeted by a lot of leather, and it's really good leather. It extends from the seats all the way to the dashboard and to the door cards of the car. You do also get this nice geometric pattern here full of lines that also extends to part of the dashboard there. Also, if you notice that the switch theme of the door handles actually continues to the car here, which controls your climate controls. Aside from that though, you get these nice like well-styled vents here that move really smoothly, and you have two displays. So speaking of displays, you get a 7-inch display here for your, well, digital instrument cluster, and you get this massive 10.1-inch display that is your infotainment system. So one of the cool features of the EMKOO is you can actually operate the windows without the physical buttons here. So you can open all the windows, close all the windows, and open any window you want individually. Of course, you also get access to ventilated seats which will cool your back and your butt at the same time. Aside from that though, you also do get ambient lighting which only shows up somewhere on the side here. So one of the highlights of the interior of the EMKOO is this crystal shifter here. It's really nice to the touch and very intuitive, except for park, which you kind of have to press down, and, well, not everybody gets that. So one of the quirks of the EMKOO is that the hazard button here is kind of close to the start-stop button. So let's say there's an emergency and you're braking and, well, you accidentally hit the start-stop button at a speed over 5 kilometers per hour. Nothing happens, but if you do bring it down to below 5, well, the car stops, and that can be a little bit dangerous.
I'm going to do a bit of a cameo here because I want to test Joey's theory with this Honda CRV diesel, which is one of the rivals of the GAC EMKOO. Now, you will notice in terms of design, the stop-start button and the hazard switch is actually very far apart. So it's very difficult for you to confuse the two. Now this time, we're going to try it at 10 kilometers an hour. If we press the start button, it says pressing button again twice or holding will cause ignition off. So nothing's really gonna happen. This time, we'll try it at 4 kilometers an hour. And still, nothing happens. However, as Honda itself indicated, if you press the ignition button twice, the car will go into neutral and just roll gently. And if you press the brake, stops and goes into park. Much smoother.
So that's enough about the interior of the car. Let's check out, well, what's under the hood. So under the hood, it has a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that produces 177 horsepower and 270 Newton meters of torque. In terms of fuel economy, you're looking at around 7 to 10 in the city and between 12 to 16 on the highway. It's a little bit lower than what we expected, especially since the EMKOO did so well. Alright, with that out of the way, let's go for a drive. So now we're driving the GAC EMKOO around, and we'll have a clear stretch of road. So since the DCT works really well when it shifts, it's actually a really smooth ride. There's not much to complain about, especially with the independent rear suspension at the back, giving you, well, relatively stable and planted handling throughout the corners. The car does a little bit, wallow every now and then when you're cornering a little bit hard, but that's really about it. Now, the one weakness, which I'll show you later about the GAC EMKOO in terms of, well, driving, is its DCT. It struggles a little bit to, get the car crawling in stop-and-go traffic, and can create sort of an uncomfortable ride when you're driving it around. That being said, it does come with plenty of power. So right now we're in comfort mode, and if I plant my foot on the accelerator, we enter boost, and holy crap, there we go. So, pretty quick on the draw. GAC says it can do about, 0 to 100 in about 8-ish seconds for something this big, so not bad. Here we go over a hump, or a bump, and the car rides pretty well. Really not much to complain about, even going down the bump right now. I think I actually challenged that most times. So right now, we are at a stoplight, and I'm going to simulate stop-and-go traffic. So there. The car takes a little bit for the transmission to lock up and start, putting power to the ground, but then it goes like this. So it's hard to modulate the brakes on this car, which again is a little bit of a downside for the car. So the one thing I wish that this EMKOO had, which the top of the line model has actually, the DL, is that paddle shifters. I wish it had paddle shifters, because I can't control what the car can do. It just shifts on its own, and sometimes I want it to hold the gear a little bit longer, and it really doesn't do that. Even if I put it into sport, which technically does that, it still shifts on its own, which I want a little bit of control from the car. That's really about it. So right now, we're going to test out the adaptive cruise control. So I've set it. We're now following a trailblazer at the front. Never mind, he just left the lane. But the car does also come with the lane keep assist. The issue with this is sometimes it's intermittent. So sometimes it'll just grab on, it'll steer the car, and then midway it might give up, like so, when it can't detect the lines. It needs a little bit more refinement, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, and which hopefully GAC can fix later on with its other iterations. So aside from the downsides of the DCT, it actually is pretty smart. It shifts up pretty early when you're in comfort mode, and especially in economy. It does its best to keep you, well, sort of right at low boost, because the engine is designed to sort of hit boost at around 1,400 RPM, which is a good and a bad thing. A good thing because it's very, very responsive. The bad thing is the DCT sometimes is a little bit slow on the draw. It's a little bit of a compromise that you have to make, and I understand why GAC went with that. So despite its quirky flaw, the GAC EMKOO is, well, reasonably priced. It's priced at 1,298,000 Philippine pesos, which undercuts most of its competition, which includes the entry-level Ford Territory and the gasoline Honda CR-V. What you do get, though, is gorgeous futuristic styling, Tesla-like, well, wheels, and, of course, a powerful 1.5-liter turbocharged engine. Is it worth it, though? Well, if you're willing to invest in a budding Chinese brand, I think it is. Catch our full review of this EMKOO on our website, autofun.ph, and make sure to like us on Facebook, Autofun Philippines, and to follow us on TikTok and Instagram as well.